Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, it is time for 5 of my favorite waiver wire pickups for week 2 of the fantasy football season. Week 1 is in the books. It was definitely an interesting week, and as always, there's going to be a lot of options available on the waiver wire after the first week of the season. Again, just don't overreact. You got to remember, a lot of these guys are probably not going to have more of these big games like they did in week 1. Some of them could for sure, but you don't want to overreact to week 1. Don't drop anybody on your roster that's a really good player that you used high draft capital on. Don't be one of those owners. But there's definitely some guys out there that I think can help this week, and there's more in my article wavering on the website, so you want to check that out as well. But I'm just going to give you 5 of my favorite targets here in this video, and then you can read that article if you want to see more of them on there. All right, my first target, waiver wire target for this week, is Quentin Johnston of the Los Angeles Chargers, the receiver. He's owned on about 18.7% of leagues on our site. He was really the forgotten man in this passing offense before the season, but he showed up big in week 1. He had 5 catches for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. He played a lot. This is what's interesting. He played 82% of the snaps. Only Ladd McConkey played more than him. And you want to compare that to Keenan Allen? He played just 62% of the snaps. So Johnston was on the field for 20% more of the snaps than Allen. I think this bodes well for Johnston going forward. If he can keep playing well, show some consistency, I think he's going to have some big games in this offense, so he's definitely worth adding if you're looking for receiver help. My next waiver wire pickup for this week is Saints tight end Juwan Johnson. Now, he's not owned on nearly any teams on our site. Just 5.6% of teams on our site own Johnson, but he was the top target for Spencer Rattler in week 1. He finished with 8 catches for 76 yards on 11 targets. He was really the top safety net for Rattler. A lot of young quarterbacks like to target the tight end, so maybe this is a trend going forward for Johnson. A lot of people had him pegged for a breakout season last year. It didn't quite happen. Quarterback play wasn't very good in New Orleans. Maybe that changes for him this year and he becomes a very consistent option. So I think Johnson could be a guy that ends up being a good spot play for fantasy teams. My next waiver wire pickup is another receiver. It's Kayshon Boutte of the New England Patriots. He's owned on just 6.4% of leagues on our site. There are a lot of receivers to compete with for targets in New England, but Boutte was the guy that emerged last week. He had 100 yards showing. He had 6 catches for 103 yards on 8 targets. And this is what's most important to me. He led the Patriots receivers in playing time. He played 83% of the snaps. He was on the field a lot. They threw the ball often. Drake May actually had a pretty good connection with him last year as well. So Boutte could be a guy that ends up playing a big role in this offense on a weekly basis. I think his playing time right now really bodes well for good production for him moving forward. My next waiver wire ad is Colts quarterback Daniel Jones. So he might have been the most surprising of any fantasy quarterback last week in the opener. He had a 3-touchdown performance. He scored 32.2 fantasy points. And he did this against the Dolphins, so this is a team that's not very good. So you don't want to, build up Jones too much, but still you can't ignore his performance. I think it really was encouraging. The Colts offense seems to be a good fit for him. I think Jones could end up being a guy that could help some teams. Again, another player on a spot start basis. He could be up and down in this offense, but his rushing ability definitely helps his floor in fantasy circles. All right, my last waiver wire pickup is Harold Fannin, the tight end with the Cleveland Browns. The rookie tight end, he was not the starter for Cleveland to open the season last week. David Njoku is definitely still the starter, but Fannin was on the field a lot. He played 72% of the snaps, so he basically was a starter. They used him in a variety of ways. He caught 7 passes for 63 yards on 9 targets. There was a ton of buzz on Fannin in training camp and the preseason, and it was well warranted because he was a difference maker for this Browns passing game, which could end up being an offense that throws a lot if you want to look at week 1 and what they did a lot last year as well. So I think Fannin definitely worth adding in all formats, quite frankly. He's a super talented player. I think he's going to be on the field a lot, and the Browns want to find ways to get him the ball. All right, those are 5 of my favorite waiver wire pickups for week 2 of the fantasy football season. Good luck in navigating that waiver wire. Hope you get all the players you're looking for. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports.